What we're looking at this morning is when to bid game in a minor over game in no trumps. Now, I could make this very, very quick and simply say, don't. The reason for that is game in a minor is landing on a sixpence. It needs to be very specific, and I'm going to try to explain why that's the case. So before I get into sort of the nitty-gritty of the bidding and why it's the case for 11 tricks in a minor is landing on a sixpence, I'm just going to look quickly at the way match point pairs, which is what you will typically play, is scored, in the hope for you to sort of see why game in a minor is so poor. So the way match pointed pairs works is, let's say we've got 4 tables. Everybody gets a score based on how well or poor they did on that particular hand. So I'm going to make up some contracts and scores. But the key about match pointed pairs is if you get 10 points more than your opponents at the other table, that you have a better score. It doesn't care about absolute values, it just cares about who came first, who came second, top or bottom. You'll have heard people say that before. So if you get 620 and the opponents get 630, you might as well have got 0 if there's only 2 tables, because 620 is worse than 630. So that's where match pointed pairs becomes very, you sort of get down to the nitty gritty of one trick makes a big difference in match pointed pairs. If you were playing in absolute, 620 and 630 are negligibly the same thing. 10 points is not much. Yes?
Mention that's what we're doing in team.
Yes, in teams it's absolute scores, so 620 and 630, no one really cares. So there is different scoring, but you will typically play match pointed pairs because that's where you can play as a duo rather than as a quad. But you can score imps as a duo as well, but it's more difficult. So I'm going to put some 3 no trumps. Let's say one person doesn't bid game because they're silly. One person bids game in the minor, and another person bids 3 no trumps. Okay, and I'm going to say they made tick, they made +2, they made tick, they made +1. I've just made them up, they're not set up. So the score, let's say they are not vulnerable, the score for making 3 no trumps tick is 400. The score for making 3 clubs +2 is 150, that's because you did not bid game. The score for making 4 clubs tick is 400, 5 clubs tick rather. And the score for making 3 no trumps +1 is 430. Those could be 6s if the vulnerability was different, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so they are your absolute scores. Now, the way match pointing works is it looks at who got the best score. They get the most match points. Who got the second best score? They get the second most match points. So this 30 makes a huge difference, because that means you get a top. And this is the fundamental reason why 3 no trumps is far better than 5 of a minor. There are 2 main reasons. The first reason is it scores better. The second reason is it's easier to make quite often because it's got fewer tricks. So the way match point, I'm not going to go into it too much because you don't need to understand how match points are worked out, but you times the tables by 2 and subtract 2. So a top is 6 match points. A bottom, therefore, is 0. Now I'm looking from the north-south perspective, or the east-west, depending on where these guys played. Now these are both equal, so it would normally go 4 then 2. But because they're both equal, they both get 3 each on this instance. So what that means, really, you don't need to know why these values are the case, but what that means is, looking at your bridge mate, they would get 100%, they would get 0%, they would get 50%, and they would get 50%. That's because that's an average score, that's a rubbish score, and that's the best score. Okay? So that's the way match pointed pairs is worked out. You don't need to know how to work these out, but that's how it is worked out. So if you get the best score, it doesn't matter what contract you're in or how many tricks you made. If you get the best score, you get a top. So you can see here, pair 3 have worked very hard to make 11 tricks in clubs. That's harder than making 10 tricks in no trumps quite often, because 11 tricks is harder than 10. And they did not get a good score. They got an average, but that's only because they didn't bid game. If they bid 3 no trumps, they would be getting a joint bottom. So pair 3 have bid 5 of a minor and not profited off that. The only time bidding 5 of a minor and getting 400 is better is if 3 no trumps is going off, which is quite rare. Because normally if you can make 11 tricks in a minor, you're quite close to 9 tricks in no trumps. So in this instance, pair 3 would have been better, A, having an easier time in 3 no trumps, and B, potentially scoring the 430, getting a joint top with pair 4. So 5 of a minor really is a contract. You'll have heard me say it before, don't bid 5 of a minor. There are a hand, you know, sort of, I don't know, maybe 1 in 100, where 5 of a minor makes and 3 no trumps goes off because they've got 5 tricks quickly against 3 no trumps. But just don't worry about it. If that's the case, that's the case. Bid 3N, you're right 99% of the time. I mean, that's not an exact figure, I made that up, but you're right a huge chunk of the time. So the whole reason behind the way we have this holy grail of order is majors, then no trumps, then minors we don't really care about, is because of this scoring. Now you could argue that if 3 no trumps is 9 tricks and 4 of a major is 10 tricks, why do we prefer 4 of a major? Because in theory that is also harder, because 10 tricks is harder than 9 tricks. There is a reason for that, and I'm going to rub this out now and hopefully demonstrate that. Everyone happy with that bit? You don't have to be happy with this bit, just know that that's the way it is. You don't have to work it out, unless you want to be a tournament director, and you have to be able to work it out.